So guys, it's payback time. Because whenever you make an investment, you expect a payback. But wait a minute, how is this payback period actually calculated? Specifically when you have to incorporate this into your financial model. And you must be wondering that the payback period calculation is pretty simple, and this is because of the academic knowledge we have, where the scenarios are like you make an investment of 100,000 at time 0, and at the end of each year you get net cash inflows of 25,000, and your payback period is 100,000 divided by 25,000, and it's 4 years. But let me tell you that practical life is much more different and difficult than our academic knowledge. And let's see how it is different. First, the investment time or the construction period of the project is never time 0. For larger projects, it may take up to 2 to 3 years for completion before you land your first sales on the ground. Secondly, your sales are never the same, which means that your net cash inflows will not be same for each of the years. In first year, you may end up selling nothing, and maybe in fourth year, you may sell up to 10,000 quantity of your product. So, the variability of your cash inflows make it more difficult. And sometimes when you have your payback during a particular period, then the investor is also interested in that proportionate number of months. So after looking all of these difficult scenarios, we are going to learn today as to how we will calculate the payback period in the practical scenario. But first, do not forget to subscribe to SHK Excel World and also click the bell icon. So guys, this is the file we are using today. You can download this file from the link given below in the description and follow along. Let me briefly tell you about the contents of this file and the structure of this working. So we have a project of almost 20 years life, and the construction period is 3 years, which means that we will only have our first sales or the cash inflow from sales from 4th year onward. So this is not like academia where we have the scenarios that the investment is done at time 0 or on the first day, and in the very first year we get our cash inflows. So this is not the scenario, and practically this is mostly never the scenario. So this period never counts for the payback period. So we have the net cash inflows or outflows for each of the years. And then in D column we have the cumulative or the running total of these cash flows, which means that in the second year we have the total of the first 2 years, in third year we have the total of first 3 years, and so on. So first we need to know whether the year is greater than the investment year or not, because if it is not greater than the investment year, then it will not count for your payback period, because the second year cash outflows have not occurred yet. So if they have not occurred, then how come you will have a payback for that? And same is the case for the third one. So we will write our logic as if your year is greater than your construction period, press F4, and if this is true, and then we will see that if your cumulative cash flows are still negative, which means that your payback has started but it has not completed. So this will be your first payback period. So we are going to write the formula count if your cumulative cash flow inverted comma is less than 0 and bracket close. So we are saying that if it is beyond your construction period and your cumulative cash flows are still negative, then it is your payback period 1. Otherwise, we want it to return 0. And we can copy it to the rest of the cells, and you can see that 4th year is counted as your first payback period, and so on up till your 10th period, or year, and your 11th year is not counted as the complete payback year, because we had 133,000 in the last year as cumulative net cash flows, and we have 447,000 net cash inflows for 11th year. So which means that for a proportion of the period we had the payback completed, but we have to calculate that one as well. Now we have to calculate this proportion. For that we will have to write two logics, and we are going to use the AND formula, and whether this current year's net cumulative cash flow is positive or not. If it is greater than 0, but the previous year's cumulative cash flow is negative, is less than 0. So if this logic is true, then that is the year which has a proportion of your payback period. And enter, if we copy it to the rest of the cells, we can see that this 11th year is the one which has a proportion of our payback period, and we have to calculate that. So we are going to top up this logic with the calculation. If this logic is true, then what it should do is that it should take up the last year's cumulative negative cash flow and divide it with the current year's cash flow. So here we want to see that how much proportion of last year's cumulative negative cash flow is to this year's net cash flow. And we are assuming that the cash flow for this year or all of the years occurred evenly throughout the year. So we want this percentage to be calculated, and if this is not the scenario, the logic is not true, then we want it to return 0 and bracket close. And now we can copy it to the rest of the cells. So this is negative, we just have to make this absolute and bracket close. So now we can easily copy it to the rest of the cells. So 30% of 1 year tenure or duration is also to be included in the payback period. So the months will be easily calculated now. We just have to multiply this with 12 and copy it to the rest of the cells. So approximately it's 4 months more in the 11th year, and now we can easily add up all of these. So the 7 years and 4 months. We can refer it to our dashboard and write here as this and years. Just let me change the format because it's not visible. So equal to this and inverted commas space years space inverted comma and 4 months ampersand and then inverted comma and space months and inverted comma close. So we have the decimals. We can easily use the text formula to change the format to our liking. Text and comma, and we can have inverted commas 0.0, then inverted comma close, and this. We just want one decimal place to be okay for the months. So it's 7 years and 3.6 months or 3.5 months approximately. Now we can have this format copied. I hope you must have understood how the payback period is calculated in the real life scenario in your financial model, and by just looking at this you will say that this is still just like calculating in the exam scenario. So if you like this, give it a big thumbs up and also share it with all of your friends and in your circle. Till the next video, bye bye.